Suppose you're on a sports team that is one play away from winning a game. Which is the best way to choose the final play of the game? 1. Have the coach or the assistant coach choose. 2. Have the 3 most talented players choose. 3. Have the most popular player choose. Or 4. Have all the team members choose together. Think about what your answer might be and why. The 4 options for how to best make the sports team's decisions relate to the 4 forms of government used in ancient Greece. Many Greek city-states tried more than one form of government. The city-state of Athens became known for developing democracy. In a democracy, all citizens share the power to rule. In this lesson, you will learn more about democracy and how this form of government developed over time. Monarchy. One person inherits power. From about 2000 to 800 BCE, a monarch or king ruled most Greek city-states. In a monarchy, the governing powers is in the hands of one individual, usually a king. Greek settlements did not allow queens to govern. Initially, the people of a Greek city-state chose the kings. When a king died, another leader was selected to replace him. In time, however, kings demanded that after their death, their power be passed to their children, typically to the oldest son. Consequently, Greek monarchs rose to power through inheritance. The kings of ancient Greece possessed many powers. They had the authority to create laws and act as judges. They also conducted religious ceremonies and led their armies during wars. Additionally, they could use force to punish people who disobeyed the laws or didn't pay their taxes. Kings had councils of aristocrats to advise them. The word aristocrat is derived from a Greek word that means best. The aristocrats were wealthy men who had inherited large pieces of land. At first, councils of aristocrats had little power. However, during wartime, kings depended on their support, since only the rich aristocrats could afford to supply soldiers with horses and armor. The aristocrats soon realized that as a group, they were stronger than their king and wanted a share of his power. In some city-states, aristocrats insisted that their king obtain the crown through an election rather than an inheritance. Then they limited a king's rule to a certain number of years. Eventually, aristocrats in many city-states overthrew the monarchy and took the power for themselves. By 800 BCE, very few Greek city-states were ruled by kings. Between about 800 and 650 BCE, most Greek city-states were ruled by a small group of wealthy men. These men were called Ogliarchs, from a Greek word meaning few. In an Ogliarchy, the ruling power lies in the hands of a few people. Most Greek Ogliarchs were aristocrats, rich men who had inherited land from their families. A few Ogliarchs were wealthy merchants. Ogliarchs had very comfortable lives and often spent their days either hunting or participating in chariot races. In the evenings, they might host or attend parties, during which slaves and hired performers entertained guests with music, dance, and acrobatics. Unlike the aristocrats, the poor were required to work long hours in the fields. They noticed the unfair differences between their difficult lives and the easy lives of the wealthy aristocrats. To make matters worse, the Ogliarchs ignored a majority of the people's needs. By passing laws that favored the rich, the Ogliarchs protected and increased their own wealth. Using the army, they forced others to obey these unjust laws. In some city-states, such laws forced farmers who were unable to pay their debts to sell themselves into slavery. Under the rule of the Ogliarchs, the rich became richer and the poor became poorer. Because their hate for the Ogliarchs increased, the poor eventually turned to other leaders who promised to improve their lives. Typically, these leaders were in the army. Backed by the people's support, they used their soldiers to remove the Ogliarchs from power.